Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by Good Marketing and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So I've said a number of times that Michigan may have the most competitive and effective startup ecosystem in the country. Two of the major players in that space are the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and the Michigan State University Research Foundation. Here to share the amazing PitchMI event is the VP of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the MEDC, Ms. Alison Todak, and the Director of Portfolio Management at Red Cedar Ventures, Mr. Pete Martin. Welcome to the show, Alison and Pete.
Great to be here.
Thanks so much.
All right. So to start off, share with me your thoughts on my introduction, because I'm proud as heck, and I have both of your teams on the show. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and it may not be you, but your cohorts or usual suspects. Just the ecosystem for startups and entrepreneurship. Am I right in that you think we're a differentiator? Michigan is a leader in that space.
Yes, and there's data to prove it, which I think. If you had asked me the same question like 3 years ago, I would have said no, because I wouldn't have known anything. But I know a lot of information out there now about how many companies are being built in Michigan, how great they are, how they're doing well in venture fundraising compared to our peers across the country, compared to our peers across the region. Really, really good time to be building a very high growth, very impactful company here in the state.
And what do you think, Alison, at the MEDC?
Absolutely. I've coached startups on a global stage. I've been an operator. I've invested in growth stage companies across the country, and I'm still picking Michigan. Michigan has built a very competitive, collaborative startup ecosystem, which you don't always see in a lot of states and regions. We've really been intentional about building different pipelines that all feed each other to help the entrepreneur along their journey.
Right on. And as Vice President of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the MEDC, our state's economic development agency, obviously you being on the show and what your title resonates, what your role is. If I can just skip over to Pete just real quick. So Red Cedar Ventures, can you just give our listeners who are unfamiliar, what is Red Cedar Ventures? I announced that MSU, for the Michigan State University Research Foundation, is a part of the show. So talk about just the overlap of Red Cedar Ventures and MSU.
Goodness. So yes, so the MSU Research Foundation, we've been around for about 50 years. And through our work at the foundation, we do lots of stuff. But on the venture side, we have Red Cedar Ventures and we have Michigan Rise. We actually have 3 different family of funds, those two plus a new $10 million fund with Henry Ford Health and MSU. And between all of these different funds that we invest out of, we are the most active investor in Michigan. We have over 300 companies that we've invested in. And this is what, like I said, if you had asked me a few years ago, I would have known nothing and said that there's nothing happening here. I just was completely unaware. But the truth is there are incredible companies and incredible people building lots of great companies across a ton of different industries here. And we get to see all of that from all across the state of Michigan, both peninsulas.
Right on. So how did the two of you get connected for this PitchMI conversation? So for those who are hearing this instead of reading this, PitchMI is P-I-T-C-H and then M-I for Michigan. So Pitch Michigan, basically. But PitchMI, what is PitchMI? Why is it important? And how did your two organizations kind of collaborate to get this show off the ground?
Yeah, Alison, how did that get started?
Oh, that's a great question. And we can talk about this in a little bit, but it's a part of a piece of legislation, the Michigan Innovation Fund, that was passed and signed into law January of 25 by Governor Whitmer. And part of that directive was for the MEDC to go put a RFP, a request for proposals, out in the world to host this great statewide pitch competition. Michigan State University Research Foundation has deep expertise in venture capital investing in the startup ecosystem, and they put in a great proposal that we selected to be our partners in this endeavor. I
think that's well said. From my side, it is a crazy but awesome idea that we had. There was an RFP that got put out last summer, and we had the opportunity. We had the idea, and we were talking about Jeff Wesley and Dave Washburn, kind of the heads of the foundation. Had the idea, said, "Hey guys, I know this is crazy, but could we do something like this? Could we make this pitch competition?" Which PitchMI started in 2024. The first pitch competition was a $100,000 pitch competition, and in our internal conversations, we said, "Hey, could we make this way bigger? Could we make this 10 times bigger? Instead of $100,000, could we make it $1 million?" and we ended up making a $2 million pitch competition because Dave and Jeff and the whole foundation was completely on board. That the whole team there was completely on board with doing a thing that would be really impactful for the entire state of Michigan and allow us to put a really big spotlight on what's happening here across all of these different industries and these really great companies that are being built here. And so, yeah, we put in the RFP over the summer last year. We were fortunate enough to get that, and our friends at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation have been so helpful in helping to push this both internally and nationally. It's been really great.
Got it. Okay. And then, so I don't think I mentioned it yet, but what we're talking about primarily is the culmination of the PitchMI competition is happening on April 7th here in Lansing. But this is the finish line. So talk about the starting line. Like, where have we been so far, and how has the bracket, as it were? I'm assuming there were a lot of people, and now we're down to finalists. But kind of someone walk me through that. Yeah.
So we it all came together really quickly when we received the grant to be able to put on this competition. We announced it almost immediately. We had almost 400 companies apply. You had to be headquartered in Michigan to even apply.
Okay.
So we had almost 400 companies apply. That whittled down to 20 companies. We worked with our colleagues and counterparts all across the state of Michigan to filter that down to about 20 companies that competed in 4 different cities. We went to Grand Rapids, to Traverse City, to Detroit, and to Ann Arbor, and each of those cities was a different industry theme. So Grand Rapids was healthcare, Traverse City was clean tech and outdoor innovation, Detroit was mobility, defense, and advanced manufacturing, and Ann Arbor was software and AI. But they each were open to startups all across the state. So we had all these people traveling all across the state to compete in these different pitch competitions, folks traveling just to view it. And we had 20 companies compete for one winner in each city. It was supposed to be a $250,000 prize. But in 3 of those 4 cities, we had private venture capital come in to co-invest same day, right? Made the announcement at the pitch competition. It was so cool. So it ended up being a little over $1.7 million that was invested, plus 1 in Google Cloud credits. That was in late September, October of this past year. And we've been spending the last almost 6 months now preparing these 4 winners of these regional events to now meet again on April 7th for the PitchMI Championship, where one of them will win $1 million prize.
Wow. So they've already received expectations of cash influx for being kind of divisional finalists, and then there's a really grand prize.
I mean, they received the cash. They've received investment. They have cash in the bank. They've been using that cash. We know some of them have received further investment. They've been making hires here in Michigan. They're doing the thing that we expected them to do. You give them a little bit of capital, and they have been able to take that and run with it. And now one of those 4, what we'll see on April 7th, it gets me so excited. But what we'll see on April 7th is 4 companies that have rapidly been able to grow because they've received capital. Because of course they're great, right? They're founders that are building in Michigan. Like you said, it's a great place to build because the people here are really, really good at building things. And this is evidence of that across 4 very different but incredible industries that Michigan has competitive strengths in.
Got it. Well, I want to give a nod to one of our friends, Wagner Financial. Whether you're just starting out, planning for retirement, or anywhere in between, Wagner is here to help you make smart financial decisions. They offer comprehensive, customized planning, from investment strategies and tax solutions to insurance, accounting, and estate planning. Wagner is dedicated to supporting you, your family, your business, and your future. Using their unique team approach and maximizing each member's specializations, they ensure there is someone who will have an answer to your question and is ready to help. Schedule consultation by visiting wagner-financial.com or give them a call at 517-853-3367. So, Allison, Pete mentioned that you had everyone needed to be headquartered in Michigan. It's a Michigan competition. But talk about other qualifications that they needed to have. How far into the process did they need to be, or were they true startups, or kind of where do they stand?
Absolutely. I would say we still call it early stage startups. Most companies that are scaling at a high cliff or maybe have significant revenue or already had invested past $1 million probably weren't as interested in this early stage capital, but these were companies, anything from idea stage up to have those betas in market, customers starting to roll in, where they knew this type of investment size check would be catalytic for them. That 250K range up to $1 million. Something else I really want to double down on what Pete said. It was over 375 applications from across 100 cities. I think that just really speaks to the depth of what the state has across the entire, like he said, both peninsulas, and how deep startups are in our ecosystem that we may just not be realizing because they're so small, they're quiet, they're just heads down building, that it's really great to be able to shine this light on them. And I think it was really fun to have the different industries and partner cities to really show all of our Michigan strengths. Right.
Now, is any of this going to be televised or summarized? Can you put together like a half an hour YouTube video of kind of everyone's paths and a couple interviews? I mean, it just seems like such a compelling story that maybe needs to be told globally.
Yes. So I think, I mentioned maybe a couple times already that I just was completely unaware about what was happening in Michigan before I moved back, and some of that's on me. But I spent my career in startups. I was a early employee at an electronic broker dealer, was a co-founder of a data security company, and I just knew that you had to be on the coast or you had to be outside of Michigan in order to be going down that career path. It never occurred to me once to be thinking about what was happening in Michigan, but also I never heard of anything that was happening in Michigan. When I came back here and saw so many people, this is my personal experience, but saw so many people building great companies here, it shocked me because I would have thought that I would have heard about it, And so, and you hear this a lot, that Michiganders are really good at building things, but not so good about bragging. Like we don't we don't like to talk about ourselves, and that's okay, right? It's like a Midwestern attitude of we don't kind of do that. We talk loudly about ourselves, but what we can do with PitchMI is do storytelling on behalf of the great founders that are building here, and it's a big reason why it's such a large pitch competition and why it's open to only Michigan-based startups, because the companies that are being built here are just good enough. Of course they are good enough. And what we get to do is kind of make up for the fact that Michiganders don't like to brag and brag on their behalves and put a lot behind the storytelling aspect. And we're doing that already. We had these four final. We had, in the fall, the 20 companies that competed, we had them on TV all over the place. In Traverse City, when we had the regional event in Traverse City, those 5 founders took over the news station for like an hour that morning. It was awesome. The entire hour. It was so cool. And now we had Mark Evan Jackson, who's from Michigan, right? Went to college here, lived in Traverse City, and then went on to have a great acting career in California. He's on The Good Place. He's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We had him in town to record some improv with these 4 finalists, because it's great. It's great content, but it's also educational for them and great for them to think on their feet when they're giving their pitches and things like that, but also really entertaining content that we get to put out there so that many more people learn about the companies that are being built here. And we will have content that's being recorded. We're not going to live stream it, but the championship will be recorded.
Got it.
Yeah, you'll just have to show up in person, but it's been really fun to use the great resources that the Michigan State University Research Foundation has, as well as MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, around spotlighting. We are certainly putting out to national media on these articles, and the regionals they got picked up. We are putting these founders in front of interviews. We're taking them all down to South by Southwest, a big tech conference happening in Austin. So we know that there's great programs throughout the state around startups and entrepreneurship, but we really think highlighting and spotlighting in the national media light through PitchMI is one really unique avenue to take on this.
So we've nibbled on it a little bit, but remind me, I'm sorry, when is the actual event? Where is it being held? And what time could people are people welcome? Did they show up? Do they buy tickets? How does that work?
Tuesday, April 7th, here in Lansing at Graywall Hall, 12 o'clock. Is when it starts, 12 to about 3:30, and it will be great. It is open to the public. It's free. If you go to PitchMI, so PitchMI.org, you can learn more and register there. I would say please register early, because we are not going to have enough seats for everybody.
Right. Yeah, I think the place sits 400. So
and we've got about 300 people that have registered so far, and it's still
got it. Okay.
we got time till we get there, so it's going to be busy.
Got it. Now, all right. So, but you said each of these quarter finalists, I'll call them, have already been announced, obviously, as the winners of their region, and they're all coming back together. So is this going to be a rerun of their presentation, or is the group that they're going to be pitching to a different team of people? Talk about the judges back then and coming up, and just kind of share that with me.
Okay, so in the fall, we had judges from different venture capital firms all across Michigan, so more local, and we put it together. We pulled it together really quickly, and we were very fortunate that I think one of the superpowers in Michigan's startup ecosystem is that everybody's really collaborative and really helpful. And so when we put out the ask that, hey, we needed to get 16 different judges because we had 4 per city, it was really, we got them all really quickly, all from Michigan, all pretty well known around the state. For the championship, we are going beyond Michigan. We're bringing in judges from across the country. And so I won't name them yet because we haven't announced them, but judges that are great VCs from coastal cities and great founders turned investors from outside of the state of Michigan that have Michigan ties. They will be, I think they'll be really well received when they get here. You had another question, though.
Is the presentation going to be different than what they already showed at their...
Yes, for a couple of reasons. And Alison, we've been talking about this, but I've got all the details are coming together with my team. So I'll take it and then feel free to add anything else. Yep. So the presentations are going to be, the same, but evolved, right? So when you think of the judges and the judging criteria for the pitch competition, it's about the feasibility of the company. It's about the market size, some of the standard things that you would expect. But it's also about the momentum that the company has built over the last 6 months. So we had these regional events in September and October, and then we gave them money, $250,000 to $400,000, and now it's about what did you do with that? You made hires. What momentum did you get? Did you get further investment? Did you get customers? Like what have you done with this funding so that we know when we put additional capital into your company that this is taxpayer funded dollars. When we put more money into your company, that's going to result in more people being hired and more success, right? So that ultimately what we want is great companies, $1 billion plus valuation companies hiring thousands of people here in Michigan, and we want the confidence that when we invest more into these companies, that's what we're going to receive. So that's part of the judging criteria we'll see in April.
Makes a ton of sense. Alison, is that comprehensive enough for you, or you have anything to say?
Yeah, absolutely. We know startups are huge job creators, and they do it fast. They are not our traditional industries. They scale at rapid speeds, and bringing those type of knowledge jobs here in the state, which is very why, the MEDC has a portion of its portfolio carved out and focused solely on startups and high-tech innovations.
No kidding. Yeah, and so this is kind of their homework. It's like, we gave you a bunch of money. Show us that you aren't moving slow. Show us that you're not paying yourself first. Show us that this is going back into the business and that you can move boldly, quickly, and obviously with minimizing risk, and you don't want to be you don't want to squander and make foolish decisions.
And we're seeing it already. All four of these companies have made great progress since the fall. I'm just super excited for everybody to see that come the championship.
That's great. Well, I want to thank our friends at Triterra. Triterra, if you don't know, is a leading environmental consulting firm headquartered in Lansing, Michigan, with staff around the state to serve your brownfield development, environmental consulting, and natural resource management needs. Since 2008, Triterra has been successfully advising wide ranges of organizations to implement solutions to complex environmental challenges. If you're a business, a developer, a property owner, a lending institution, attorney, or governmental entity looking for a solution, and you want prompt and timely service, don't hesitate to contact my friends at Triterra. Led by CEO and visionary Don McNabb and leaders JP Buckingham and Dave Van Haren, supported by dozens of technical experts. You can't miss by calling Triterra at 517-702-0470 or visit them at triterra.us. So we've talked about Michigan's impressiveness, in this space. But why is it so important, do you think, to fan the flames and kind of give this kind of, not only, you're obviously giving money to 4 different startups that you're kind of banking on as being the best bet, but you said you've seen scores and scores of other businesses out there. Why is it so important to show the support from a statewide level that this is important?
It's a new wave of innovation and economic drivers. I mean, as we just mentioned, startups create jobs at rapid speeds. They're going to scale really quickly overnight, those who are successful. And we want that type of talent pipeline to exist here in the state. And we want to have a place where all of our wonderful universities can send their talented students right into tech jobs that are not on our coastal markets, that they're here in our backyards. And that will drive economic gains, certainly here at the state level.
Right. And I know that kind of inbound talent, population growth has been something that's been on the governor and MEDC and kind of anyone who's here and thinks this area is cool. We need to be a growth state and not a static state like we've been for
and it's happening
50
now,
years.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Detroit has grown for the first time in 60 years now, multiple years in a row. Michigan's population is growing for more now than in the last 20 years, something like that. Unbelievable. And it's because, Michigan is cool again. The perception of Michigan has changed a lot just in a few years. When I lived outside of the state and I told people I was from the Detroit area, they would say, I'm sorry. That was their default reaction. And I never understood that. But coming back and seeing how now, I asked a group of MBA students at the University of Michigan what they thought when they thought of Michigan or Detroit. And it was about like resurgence, right? So like the perception has changed. It's really cool. To go back to there was a question here on why we're doing this, why it's important to be fanning the flames of this stuff.
Yep.
I didn't know so much stuff when I came back here, but there's amazing history. The people from Michigan build incredible things across a variety of different industries. Like I didn't know, for example, that the flu vaccine was invented in Michigan. I didn't know that, right? I feel like I should have known that growing. I didn't know that Jet's Pizza was headquartered not just in Michigan, but in Sterling Heights, where I'm from. I didn't know that until I moved back to Michigan. And we're the #1 pizza state in the country. Like nobody can argue, right? We have Domino's, we have Little Caesars, we have Jets, we have Hungry Howie's, come on, right? Like unbelievable. We're the best pizza state in the country. There are so many great things that happen in this state that we just don't talk about enough. And I think we need to take a little bit more pride, not just in Michigan and the great environment that we have here and the great natural resources that we have here, but also the great entrepreneurs that come from Michigan. There's so many people that Google was founded by a Michigander, right? Like so many people come from this state and have recently left to go build their companies. They don't need to do that anymore. They can do it here. And what we're trying to do is showcase how that's possible and that there's a pathway for anyone in Michigan that wants to build a great company. You can do it here. Right
on. And it seemed like, historically, good companies just got bigger, but this phenomenon of startups and tech startups seems to be a big thing. I mean, and you even have like Shark Tank. I mean, some of those are inventions and, specific things, maybe it is manufacturing, but at the end of the day, the whole idea of pitch competitions and trying to get seed funding to start up is that a generational thing? Are we just in this confluence, or am I paying attention to it more than I ever had before? Is this what, my sons who are in their early 20s are going to be looking for versus, a secure corporate job like I did when I was 20?
I think it's both. Large companies and scaling in the state of Michigan will always matter. That's part of Michigan's DNA, building things, as Pete earlier said. But today's economy is also going to be driven by innovation cycles and moving fast. And startups are often testing new technologies quickly, whether that be AI, battery, advanced materials, life sciences. And so I don't see it as replacing big industry. I think we're strengthening it by fueling a pipeline of new companies that can come in and partner with traditional business, as well as being the next generation of innovation leaders.
And that makes a lot of sense to me, actually, now that you mention it. It's because the supply chain, right? It would be nice to get some of these smaller startup companies to build things that they can sell in mass to these large companies. So no, that resonates with me. So these kinds of things, I mentioned you two as the the team that's pulling this together, but I got to believe that you've had other people help you and support you. Is there a group of folks that do you have volunteers? Do you have sponsorships from corporations? Is there anyone you want to kind of talk about that helped you guys get to this point?
Well, Alison and the entire team at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation have been super helpful. We have had calls with them monthly, now becoming more frequent, where there's like 10 of them from their team that are on the call. So too many people to shout out there. The entire team at the MSU Research Foundation has really rallied behind this. I will shout out Heather Liskowitz in particular, because she's the one that's like project managing this whole thing to make sure it's a great event and that all of this stuff goes off without a T. The folks at Barnes and Thornburg have been really helpful. The Michigan Venture Capital Association has been really helpful. We had these PitchMI finalists on with their members, these different venture capitalists from across Michigan, just to see how they could be helpful. Right, there are people across Michigan, organizations across Michigan that are jumping in just to be helpful to these founders, to say, hey, we want you to be successful too. And my gosh, like, we wouldn't have been able to pull off the events this past fall if we didn't have great partners in every city across Michigan. That's a great testament to the MSU Research Foundation and what they have built, but also to the fact that, like, the right place and the great places in Grand Rapids and 20 Fathoms and Grove Community Incubator and Traverse City and all these great places in Ann Arbor and Detroit and everywhere else across Michigan. The ecosystem around founders in Michigan is great, continues to get even better. And so, yeah, just really thankful to being here.
Right on. And what do you think about, is this going to happen again next year?
Yes.
Or, is this something that is going to be semi-recurring, and maybe the economics are going to change based on budgets and governors and funding and all that kind of stuff? But the concept of having an annual statewide pitch competition is assured?
Yes, it is assured for next year. Want it to be assured for many, many, many years. And I think there's a lot of interest around making that happen. And Alison and friends are really helpful there.
Yeah, absolutely. This specific PitchMI was funded through the Michigan Innovation Fund Coalition. That one-time appropriation from the legislative body, I said the end of 24, early 25. There is another legislative ask coming to that body to continue this great work. And we're constantly, making sure we're talking about the successes, and we can point to this and find what other ways of capital we can have to support this in years to come.
We haven't announced the locations for the next regional events, which would be this upcoming fall. But I will tell you, because we'll just do a little sneak peek, that one of those cities is going to be in the UP.
Hey, there you go. All right, good.
Yeah.
Like to hear that.
Has to happen. We couldn't not get up there. It's going to be just a ton of fun.
Right on. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share? I feel like we've touched them all, but always like to give the guests one final thought if something has dawned on you that we haven't touched on.
I'll just share one more thought on. We had these different industry themes, and it's because Michigan has strengths in all of these different areas. And I think when a lot of people think of Michigan, they think of automotive, because of course we're like the center for automotive.
Yep.
But it's mobility and the future of mobility. The amount of stuff that we have in the drone space is incredible. The fact that defense is a $30 billion industry in Michigan and supports over 100,000, I think 150,000 jobs in Michigan, incredible. 40% of venture capital dollars go into healthcare in Michigan, and so healthcare is a huge category. AI is massive, and there are great AI. There's great AI talent in Michigan, really great AI talent. And we've been the number one state for clean tech since the Inflation Reduction Act was passed in 2022. So there's all of these different industries that people in Michigan are building in, because we have naturally been great in all of these different areas. And I just really love that we get to showcase all of that to both a statewide and a national audience.
Wonderful. Awesome. So pitchme.org. Is a great place for people to go and kind of look through the details and kind of get more content.
Yeah,
we talked about here.
Oh, can we do one more thing?
We
got to do one more. And you can learn about, if you go to pitchme.org, you can find out about the 4 companies that are going to be competing too. So just to shout them out, there's Adrenaline Interactive, which is doing immersive, they're using AI to do immersive advertising within video games. So think product placement, but inside of video games, so not intrusive at all. Super cool. Bed Connect, which is helping health systems place patients inside of like better care, so they don't have to have patients sitting within the health system, which is a massive cost center for them right now. Electric Outdoors, which has amazing electric outdoor, not like trailers basically, that are solar powered. They have water filtration. They've got satellite internet. They have EV hookups. So if you have like 100 acres of property and you want to turn it into an Airbnb, you can have like these things sitting on your property. Super cool. And then General Orbit, which I will just describe as like the future of GPS, because GPS can be spoofed on, like GPS satellites can be spoofed, and they have a way to solve for that, the patented way to solve for that. Super cool. You can learn about those 4 companies and register to attend PitchMI if you go to pitchme.org.
How about that? All right. Excellent.
And I would just, add if you're an entrepreneur building in the state, check out PitchMI as an opportunity. But there are certainly several other state-backed programs to help you on that entrepreneurial journey that you can all find at michiganbusiness.org.
michiganbusiness.org. Excellent. Well, I got to tell you, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm really excited. I got to look at my calendar now for April 7th because it is in the middle of the workday. See if I can't make it there. Maybe I'll broadcast live and talk to the winners as they go. But no, this has been fantastic. We've been speaking with the VP of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the MEDC, Alison Todak. Thank you so much for joining me, Alison, and the Director of Portfolio Management at Red Cedar Ventures, Pete Martin. Best of luck to you and the contestants that are going to be pitching on April 7th. And I'd love to give a final shout out to all of the loyal sponsors of Michigan Reimagine. We've got Wagoner Financial, Good Marketing, Triterra Environmental, Keller Williams Advantage and Team, Michigan Rise, Kirk Byron State Farm, and the attorneys at Foster Swift. All fantastic people who are worth the call. And if you found the show as a one-off, I want to remind you to follow and subscribe to Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find your podcasts. This is Chris Buck signing off for Michigan Reimagined.